Hey folks, I'm best-selling author of The Power Zero, David McKnight. In today's video, you'll see part 2 of my conversation with certified financial planning professional Mark Bialik, in which we discuss the coming debt apocalypse and what it means for your Roth conversion strategy. Let's move on here. Another year has passed, Mark, before tax rates go up. We now only have 2 years within which to take advantage of historically low tax rates before they go up for good in 2026. And when I say they're going up for good, I'm saying, I've quoted David Walker on this in an interview he did with me. Tax rates today are as low as we'll see in our lifetime. They will never, after 2026, they will never, ever, ever be as low as they are today. So we now only have 2 years within which to take advantage of historically low tax rates. Is that something we should worry about? Is that something, should we move heaven and earth to sort of take advantage of these low rates? Or what are you telling your clients?
Well, let's take your first question first. Is it something we should worry about? Absolutely. I'm fortunate to run in 2 really high-level groups and with brilliant people around me. And the first is where I met you, Dave. That's Ed Slott's Elite Advisor Group. That's a group of about 400 advisors throughout the country. And these are some of the best thinkers in this arena in the country. And then your group, the Power Zero Elite Advisor Group. And I'm fortunate enough to, I serve on Ed's advisory board right now, and I serve on you call it your mastermind group, and I appreciate that. So I say that not to be boastful, but to say that I'm really lucky to talk to some of the best minds in the country about this. And every time that we get together and we look at this, we're very, very sure that your average middle-class American is probably going to be in the 40 to 45% effective tax rate. So that's your blended. Your listeners probably know this, but that's your blended tax rate when you go through the gates of the marginal tax rates. So your average middle-class American today, maybe you know this statistic because you're really good with these things, Dave, is probably 18 to 20%. So more than double, 40 to 45% for most people. And I'm very fortunate, and really just because of the type of practice I have and the demographics of where I live, I have a lot of wealthy people that I work with, and they're going to be potentially higher than that. You're looking at 50, 55%. So should you worry about it? Absolutely. Should you worry about it? Should you be moving heaven and earth right now? I think you should be moving as much as you can. I think that we've probably have time beyond 2026 or 12/31/2025. And frankly, Dave, you've convinced me of that. And conversations with my local congressman and things like that have helped solidify that. And just watching Washington over the last year have helped that. So we looked at debt ceiling, fiscal cliff. Now we got a budget due by the end of this month. Here we are in January 2024. The folks in Washington have there's no courage. I've said this to you before, and we've talked about this before. There's no courage in Washington, no matter what side of the aisle. This is not a political statement. No one is looking at this and saying, well, hey, we've got some financial problems. We're told all the time. We were talking before this, and we're going to talk again about the Penn Wharton study and the report from the Treasury Department that comes out every year, and Social Security trustees report. So we have all this information. We have the Surgeon General's warning, like we see on the pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I'm sure it's still on there. We have that in our face all the time, and it's being shown to us that we have a potential problem. So we should be concerned about it, but there's no courage in Washington. So it's likely that we're really not going to see changes to the marginal tax rates until 2028, maybe 2030. You're going to see a lot of other changes probably. We talked to people a lot about IRMA, income-related monthly adjustment amounts that get added onto your Medicare bill. That will probably be a big target for Congress because it's easy. It's kind of below the radar. Capital gains is another one. That'll probably be an easy target, or it is an easy target for Congress. So things like those, they're not really phantom taxes, but you can think of them as phantom taxes. So best to move as quickly as you can. But I don't want to see people, I've had a lot of people over the years who try this themselves, and they come to me after a year and they say, I converted $1 million last year. And there's just a pause because I just wait for the feedback of everything that comes after that. And they didn't need to convert $1 million, but they got excited about this Roth conversion strategy, and it is exciting. But that's probably more than most people need to move in a single year, right? So that's kind of the heaven and earth movement, is going above that 24% bracket. And we can talk more in detail about that if you'd like, but I don't think we're there yet, but we better be making moves now, and certainly developing your plan, and don't let a year go by. We are January 12th, 2024. There's no going back to 2023. You can't do it. You can do contributions in IRAs and Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs still for 2023, but Roth conversions are done. Right. So you don't want to miss those years.
Yeah. So I think that, we're sort of centering around a theme here. To what extent do you move heaven and earth to get these dollars shift over? And I always say, you want to move your money slowly enough that you don't rise into a tax bracket that gives you heartburn, but quickly enough that you get all the heavy lifting done before tax rates go up for good. And I've long said that, there's worse things in the world than paying, the equivalent of the 22 and the 24% tax bracket after 2026, which is the 25 and the 28 respectively.
Sure.
You could say, hey, taxes are going up in 2026. So I want to do what, Mark, you said your acquaintance did, which is convert $1 million. Well, what did they do when they converted $1 million? They rose up through the 20, through the 32, 35, all the way up to the 37. So a lot of that conversion got taxed at 37. That wasn't necessary. They could have stretched that obligation past 2026 into 27, 28, 29, potentially 2030, and still have been able to take advantage of the 25 and the 28% tax brackets. And so you mentioned something really interesting, which is these 45% effective tax rates that people are likely going to be paying down the road. And that's right out of David Walker, former Comptroller General of the federal government. It's right out of his book, Come Back America. He quotes it. He says, that's what it will have to be if they decide to raise taxes in 2030. He says, if you wait until after 2030, that number just goes up and up and up. And I'd like to talk now a little bit about this Penn Wharton, study that came out a couple of months ago. And of course, it's the University of Pennsylvania Business School. They've got a couple of really smart guys that have been studying this. And they basically said, look, we can continue to kick the can down the road on fixing this stuff. But there comes a point in time beyond which they can no longer procrastinate fixing this stuff, okay? I've long said that we should really get our financial house in order by 2030. These guys are basically saying that if we don't put permanent fixes in place by 2043, so basically 20 years, a couple of decades, if we don't permanently shore up Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, get the national debt under control, we will slip into a death spiral as a country that leads essentially to a Great Depression, the likes of which we've never seen before, that will send shockwaves across the global economy. So any reaction to that study?
I think the study is great, and I think it's certainly well done. Wharton is in our backyard here, and it's a well-respected business school, obviously, and our legislators read these reports. So I think it's a very, very good study. It's meaningful. As I said before, it really is. It echoes what we see on a regular basis, right, from the Treasury Department and some others. But my concern is this: if we don't act within the next 20 years, because that concerns me for our politicians, right? I don't want to give any more road to our politicians. I want to wake them up as an American, as a taxpayer. I want to wake them up and say, we have to do something now. Listen, as a tax efficient financial planner, I'm really happy to kick this can down the road for my clients. But every year that we kick it down the road, we're hurting our nation. We're hurting our children. We're hurting, everything that we need to rely on as an economy and as a country. So while I think it's a really great study and it's more information that gives us, as I said, that Surgeon General's warning, I'm not going to argue the facts, because these are much smarter people than me putting these studies together, these academics. But I just wish they didn't give them that 20-year window.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's my thought
It's
about that.
interesting. I had a recent exchange with somebody. I don't often get called a fear monger or,
Right.
a tax alarmist. It doesn't often happen because so many people understand the math and see the handwriting on the wall. And there's so many reports that come out, like the Penn Wharton study, that say basically, look, we have to dramatically raise taxes, dramatically reduce spending, not just one or the other, both
Right.
within the next 20 years, or it will be a fait accompli. It won't matter. It won't matter the
Right.
extent to which you raise taxes or the extent to which you cut spending, because the debt will be so big and there will be so much interest that we'll have to pay. And there will be so few takers across the global community that want to loan us the money because
Sure.
they don't have a high confidence level that we'll be able to pay the money back, that you will just be stuck in this, downward death spiral from which there really may be no deliverance. And so it's just sometimes I just like to send these reports out to the people who fear me or who accuse me of being a fear monger and say, look, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm simply parroting the things that people who are much smarter than me, professors at Wharton or David Walker or at Slot, what have you, are saying after having assessed the situation and giving what their prescription is. So,
Okay, folks, that was part 2 of my interview with certified financial planning professional Mark Bialik. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes down the road, head on over to davemcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.